Assalamu alaikum, dear viewers. Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. Welcome back to our channel. After a comprehensive overview about the 50 types of angels created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we are now moving towards the Malaikat wal-Awlād, the angels who test through family, loved ones and children. Malaikat wal-Awlād are the angelic administrators of divine tests that come through the people closest to us, our spouses, parents, children, siblings, relatives, and every soul whose presence touches our emotional world. These angels form one of the most delicate and spiritually profound categories of the Malā'ikat al-Imtihan, the angels of trial, for tests related to the family, penetrate the deepest chambers of the heart, and often reshape a person's destiny more powerfully than trials of wealth, body, or status. These angels govern every test connected to marriage, divorce, emotional attachment, heartbreak, loss of loved ones, infertility, childbirth, raising children, and the spiritual upheavals caused by people we love or depend upon. They oversee moments of joy, grief, betrayal, loyalty, reconciliation, and the subtle transformations that happen as a believer interacts with those entrusted to them by Allah. These are the beings of unfathomable might, created from the most luminous light of Nur Muhammadi, meaning the divine light of Prophet Muhammad. In Tasawwufi understanding, the family is a mirror of the seeker's inner state, and these angels adjust the reflections that appear in that mirror. They bring the tests that reveal our hidden wounds, unspoken fears, attachments, egoic tendencies, and possibilities for compassion and patience. Through them, Allah trains the believer's heart in the arenas of mercy, forgiveness, kindness, endurance, and responsibility, the qualities that elevate the soul and polish the mirror of the heart. These angels are present at every major turning point of family life: the moment of marriage, the birth of a child, the pain of separation, the joy of reunion, the long road of raising children, the burdens of caregiving, the illness or death of loved ones, and even the subtle emotional trials that come through the daily interactions of family bonds. The Tasawwufi masters teach that family trials are among the heaviest because they test love, the most powerful force in the human soul. Therefore, the angels assigned to this realm work with extreme precision and tenderness, balancing the believer's emotional needs with their spiritual growth. They bring situations that teach humility when one becomes proud, gentleness when anger rises, patience when overwhelmed, and reliance on Allah when worldly support collapses. Every blessing or hardship within the family, a loving child, a rebellious child, a righteous spouse, a difficult spouse, a nurturing parent, a harsh parent, carries a spiritual function. Malaikat wal-Awlād are the ones appointed to activate these functions, turning ordinary family dynamics into arenas of spiritual elevation. Through them, the believer learns how to love for the sake of Allah, how to remain patient for the sake of Allah, how to forgive for the sake of Allah, how to detach when necessary for the sake of Allah, and how to protect the family in body, heart, and faith. They are among the most active angels in a believer's life, for almost every day brings a new emotional trial, a new moment of choice, or a new wave of feeling. And all these are under their administration. In the highest Sufi teachings, these angels are understood as architects of the believer's emotional destiny, shaping the heart through the furnaces of love, loss, loyalty, grief, and mercy, until the soul becomes capable of reflecting the name Al-Rahman within its own relationships. Before going further, a quick update: all our videos are available in both English and Urdu languages on our YouTube channel. You can find them by navigating to our playlists where all our videos are available for your convenience. Now let's continue. Quranic mentions 1. Family as a trial. As stated in Surah Al-Anfāl verse 28, know that your wealth and your children are but a trial, and with Allah is a great reward. Stated in Surah At-Taghabun verse 15, your wealth and your children are only a trial, and Allah has with him a great reward. 2. Spouses and children as potential fitna. Mentioned in At-Taghabun verse 14, O you who believe, indeed among your spouses and your children are enemies to you, so beware of them. But if you pardon and overlook and forgive, then indeed Allah is forgiving, merciful. 3. Children as a test and responsibility. As stated in Surah Al-Kahf, verse 46, wealth and children are the adornment of the worldly life, but the enduring good deeds are better with your Lord for reward and better for hope. In Surah Al-Imran verse 14, beautified for people is the love of desires, women, children, heaps of gold and silver, fine horses, livestock and farmland. That is the enjoyment of worldly life, but with Allah is the best return. 4. Test through the behavior of family. Mentioned in Al-Baqarah verse 155, we will surely test you with something of fear, hunger, loss of wealth, lives and fruits, but give glad tidings to the patient. Stated in Surah Al-Baqarah verse 216. Perhaps you dislike something while it is good for you, and perhaps you love something while it is bad for you. Allah knows and you do not know. 5. Tests through conflict in marriage. Stated in Surah An-Nisa verse 19, live with them in kindness. For if you dislike them, perhaps you dislike something in which Allah has placed much good. Mentioned in Surah An-Nisa verse 34. But those wives from whom you fear arrogance, advise them, forsake them in bed, and if needed, strike them lightly. But if they obey, seek no means against them. Indeed, Allah is most high, great. Mentioned in Surah An-Nisa verse 35. If you fear dissension between the two, appoint an arbitrator from his people and an arbitrator from her people. If they desire reconciliation, Allah will bring harmony between them. 6. Tests through parenting and children's behavior. Mentioned in Surah Luqman verses 14 and 15, we have enjoined upon man care for his parents, but if they strive to make you associate with me that of which you have no knowledge, do not obey them, but accompany them in this world with kindness. Mentioned in Surah Al-Isra verses 23 and 24. Your Lord has decreed that you worship none but Him, and treat parents with the best of kindness. Lower to them the wing of humility. 7. Tests through spouses who harm or oppose faith. Mentioned in Surah At-Tahrim verse 10, Allah sets forth the example of those who disbelieved, the wife of Nuh and the wife of Lut. They were under two righteous servants, but betrayed them. In Surah At-Tahrim verse 11 and 12. And Allah sets forth the example of those who believed the wife of Fir'aun when she said, My Lord, build for me near you a house in paradise, and Maryam, who guarded her chastity. These verses show spiritual tests through spouses, children and parents. 8. Tests through loss of loved ones. Mentioned in Surah Al-Imran verse 185, we will test you through loss, and you will surely be paid your full reward on the day of resurrection. In Surah Al-Baqarah verse 156, those who, when disaster strikes them, say, Indeed we belong to Allah, and indeed to Him we will return. Test through generational hardships. Mentioned in Surah Al-Baqarah 2:13-3. Were you witnesses when death came to Yaqub? This verse indirectly showing the final test through children and their faith. 10. Tests through family loyalty versus faith loyalty. Mentioned in Surah At-Tawbah verse 23. O you who believe, do not take your fathers or brothers as allies if they prefer disbelief over faith. In Surah Al-Mujadilah, Surah 22. You will not find a people who believe in Allah and the last day loving those who oppose Allah and His Messenger, even if they were their fathers, sons, brothers, or clans. 11. Test through domestic hardships. In Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 231. Do not keep them wives to harm them. In Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 233. Mothers shall breastfeed their children for 2 full years. Upon the father is their provision and clothing in kindness. 12. Tests through divorce and separation. In Surah At-Talaq, verse 1. O Prophet, when you divorce women, divorce them at the right time. In Surah At-Talaq, verses 2 and 3. Whoever fears Allah, He will make a way out for him. 13. Tests through childlessness. Mentioned in Surah Ash-Shura, verses 49 and 50. To Allah belongs the dominion of the heavens and the earth. He creates what He wills. He gives daughters to whom He wills and sons to whom He wills, or makes them childless. Tests through jealousy and sibling rivalry. Mentioned in Surah Yusuf, verses 8 to 10. When they said, Yusuf and his brother are more beloved to our father than we are. In Surah Yusuf, verse 18, they brought his shirt stained with false blood. 15. Tests through the need to forgive family. In Surah Yusuf, verse 92, He said, no blame will be upon you today. Allah is the most merciful. 16. Test through responsibility over family. In Surah At-Tahrim, verse 6, O you who believe, save yourselves and your families from a fire. 17. Test through love of family verses. Duty to Allah, mentioned in Surah Al-Ahzab, verse 6. The Prophet is closer to the believers than their own selves, and his wives are their mothers. This verse defines spiritual family over biological family. Hadith mentions 1. Children and family as a trial. In Sahih al-Bukhari, Hadith 4729. Your wealth and your children are but a trial. The Prophet recited this verse and explained that family can be a means of testing. 2. A person is tested according to his closeness to Allah. In Sunan al-Tirmidhi, Hadith 2398, a man is tested according to the level of his religion until he walks on earth without a sin. Tasawwufi masters apply this to family-related trials as one of the most constant forms. 3. A good wife is the best provision in this world. In Sahih Muslim, Hadith 1467, the best enjoyment of this world is a righteous wife, indirectly implying that a corrupt or difficult marriage is one of the greatest tests. 4. Misery of a household can be a trial. In Sunan ibn Majah, Hadith 1859, among the things that bring misery to a man is a bad wife, a bad home, and a bad mount. Tasawwufi scholars interpret this as a divine test sent through family circumstances. 5. The death of a child as a test of faith. In Sunan al-Tirmidhi, Hadith 1021. When a person's child dies, Allah asks the angels, did you take the soul of my servant's child? Build for him a house in paradise and call it Bait al-Hamd, the house of praise. This is a primary text for the testing angels of children. 6. Raising daughters as a test that leads to paradise. In Sahih Muslim, Hadith 2631. Whoever raises 2 daughters with kindness until they reach maturity, they will be a shield for him from the fire. The presence of daughters is interpreted as a test of patience, mercy, and provision. Marriage as half of faith. In Sunan al-Bayhaqi, Hadith 1916. When a servant marries, he has completed half of his religion. Let him fear Allah for the remaining half. Marriage inevitably contains tests, patience, forgiveness, generosity. 8. Husband's kindness as a divine test. In Sunan al-Tirmidhi, Hadith 3895, The best of you is the best to his wives, and I am the best of you to my wives. Kindness is seen as passing the test, harshness is failing it. 9. Family discord is a test and purification. In Sahih Muslim, Hadith 2885, the Prophet warned the community of fitna in their houses before fitna outside. Ulama interpret this as Allah testing a person first inside the household. 10. Love for family can be a spiritual test. In Sunan Abu Dawud, Hadith 50-130, your love for a thing can make you blind and deaf. This includes excessive attachment to children or spouse. In our previous videos, we also explored the verse on how Allah created every living thing from water, the creation of the waters above the dome and below the flat earth, the firmament dome above the flat earth, actual shape of the earth according to the Quran and Islamic cosmology, primordial waters of the heavens, the kursi, meaning the footstool of Allah, the arsh, meaning the throne of Allah, law and mahfuz, meaning the sacred tablet, the second creation of Allah, al-Qadam, why Allah created the universe, the first creation of Allah, the 7 portals and dimensions of the universe, and discussed where Allah was before He created the universe. If you haven't watched them yet, please do. Now, let's continue. Descriptions and numbers. The Malā'ikat al-Awlad are described by Tasawwufi masters as subtle, gentle angels whose tests do not arrive with sudden fear or calamity, but rather through the slow unfolding of everyday interactions with family, moments of disagreement, burdens of responsibility, tests of loyalty, challenges of provision, emotional strain, and the sweetness of love that can become a veil. They are known as angels of emotional purification because their tests target the heart rather than the body or wealth. These angels preside over marriage and its harmony or tension, children and their upbringing, parents and their needs, siblings and family disputes, the pull of love, attachment, jealousy, and sacrifice. Their task is to expose the hidden impurities of the heart, anger, pride, impatience, possessiveness, so that the believer may refine them. Tasawwufi reports describe them symbolically as soft, luminous beings, colors of warm gold, rose, and gentle white, faces reflecting compassion mixed with firmness, wings spread like protective canopies, always standing near households, cradles, and thresholds. They do not appear fierce like angels of punishment, nor majestic like angels of revelation. Instead, they manifest as angels of emotional testing and purification. Tasawwufi cosmology assigns the Malaikat al-Awlad to a set of 7 primary archangels, each archangel supervising many smaller angelic deputies. Raqibul Bayt, overseer of harmony inside the home. Nazir al-Zawjain, examiner of marriage. Hafiz al-Awlad, guardian of children's spiritual impact. Mufattik al-Qulub, revealer of hidden emotions. Muzakkir al-Atafa, tester through love and attachment. Qasim al-Mas'uliyat, distributor of responsibilities. Jari al-Sabr, wounder and healer of patience within family life. Each of these 7 supervises countless minor angels who execute daily tests: a child's illness, a spouse's sudden mood, a parent's demand, a sibling's conflict, a household disagreement. Tasawwufi masters emphasize their number is known only to Allah, but their effects are felt daily. They belong to the 4th layer of the hierarchy of testing angels, those who test through relationships rather than external conditions, tests of the soul, tests of wealth, tests of body, tests of family, this category, tests of circumstances, tests of emotion, tests of destiny. Thus they work closely with angels of patience called Sabril, gratitude called Shukril, and hope called Sabihil, because family tests often require all 3 qualities at once. They soften a believer's heart, expose hidden flaws, provoke emotional refinement, test reactions to the closest people, measure sincerity in love and duty, and elevate spiritual rank through domestic tests. A Tasawwufi saying describes them: they test with love, not fear, with nearness, not separation. Roll with the prophets. The Malaikat al-Awlad appear throughout prophetic history, not by name but by function. Their role is to guide prophets through the most painful and refining tests of all, tests of family, where the heart is stretched between mercy, patience, sacrifice, and obedience to Allah. Below is their role with each prophet, one by one, as you requested for all previous angels. With Prophet Adam, these angels managed the first human tests of family, the pain of losing a son Habil, the trial of witnessing Qabil's jealousy, and the emotional weight carried by both Prophet Adam and Hawa. They refined Adam through sorrow, repentance, and parental love. With Prophet Nuh, they directed the heartbreaking test of his son choosing disbelief. They governed the emotional pull Prophet Nuh felt toward him and strengthened his heart to accept Allah's decree. Their role here is considered one of the earliest displays of the test of loved ones. With Prophet Hud and Prophet Salih, these angels managed the family tensions caused by tribes rejecting their prophets. Though not focused on spouses or children, they tested loyalty, tribal kinship, and obedience despite family pressure. With Prophet Ibrahim, this is where they played one of their greatest roles, in the test of his father Azar rejecting faith, in the separation from Sayyidah Hajar, in the near sacrifice of Prophet Ismail, in the longing for Prophet Ishaq, in the emotional burdens of fatherhood, exile, and obedience. They purified Ibrahim's heart through love and surrender. With Sayyidah Hajar, while not a prophet, she is central to this angelic category. These angels guided her through loneliness in the desert, the responsibility of protecting Ismail, her unwavering trust in Allah. Their presence is an example of how family trials elevate spiritual rank. With Prophet Lut, they governed the trials he faced through his wife's betrayal and disobedience. They strengthened him to stand firm in a corrupt society and manage family sorrow without losing prophetic dignity. With Prophet Yaqub, these angels tested him through Prophet Yusuf's disappearance, the jealousy of his sons, years of grief that purified his heart. Their role with him is one of the most intense examples of family purification trials in prophetic history. With Prophet Yusuf, they orchestrated childhood separation, emotional longing for his father, the test of forgiveness toward his brothers, and the restoration of family ties. They taught Yusuf the perfection of forgiveness within family. With Prophet Shoaib, they managed his role as a father to righteous daughters and tested his people's moral corruption. His daughters' wisdom and modesty were under the guardianship of these angels. With Prophet Musa, they played a major role in his mother's fear as she placed him in the river, the emotional reconnection when Allah returned him to her, the trial with the man he accidentally struck, and the building of a family in Madian. They purified Musa through motherhood, migration, and marriage. With Prophet Harun, they managed the sibling bond between Musa and Harun, teaching leadership, patience, and brotherhood. With Prophet Ayub, these angels tested him through the illness of his body, the loss of his children, the trial of his wife's fatigue and sorrow, and the endurance required to remain grateful. Their role with Prophet Ayub is considered the deepest family trial in all prophetic tradition. With Prophet Dawood and Prophet Sulaiman, they managed the justice they had to maintain between many wives and children. They tested leadership, fairness, and emotional stability within large royal families. With Prophet Zakaria, they governed his longing for a child and the miraculous gift of Prophet Yahya in old age. Their test was the long waiting that purified his trust in Allah. With Prophet Yahya, they protected his chastity and purity from the corrupt influences of family and society. With Prophet Isa, they centered their work around Sayyida Maryam, her miraculous conception, her isolation, and her pure upbringing. They protected the sanctity of motherhood against accusations and fear. With Prophet Muhammad, their role is the most extensive: his orphanhood, test of losing father, mother, grandfather, the death of his sons Qasim, Tayyib, Tahir, Ibrahim, trials with Quraysh relatives, responsibility toward wives, protection and teaching of Fatima, raising Zayd, Usama, and caring for orphans, tests through companions who became family by heart. These angels refined the Prophet into the perfect model of mercy toward family. Role in Sufism and Tariqat, in the science of the soul called Ilm al-Nafs and the inner path called Tariqat. The Malaikat wal-Awlad hold one of the most profound and difficult stations. While outwardly they test a believer through family, children, spouses, relatives, and emotional bonds, inwardly they test the heart's attachments, the weight of mercy, and the line between love and distraction from Allah. Sufi masters say that these angels are among the closest to the human heart because family love is one of the deepest roots inside the soul. 1. Angels who purify the heart from excessive attachment. In Tasawwuf, these angels are responsible for separating the seeker from unhealthy dependence on family that blinds one to Allah. They do not remove love, they balance it. They govern trials such as longing, absence, separation, heartbreak from loved ones, worry for children, betrayal by relatives, emotional exhaustion created by family chaos. Each of these trials is considered a surgical operation upon the heart to cut away its idols and leave only Allah as the central stability. 2. Angels who transform family pain into marifa, the recognition of Allah. Every Tasawwufi master teaches that the most hidden door to marifat is found in loss of loved ones, grief over children, the pressure of providing for family, misunderstandings and broken relationships. The Malaikat al-Aḥwāl wal-Awlād turn these wounds into windows of divine intimacy. They convert emotional turmoil into divine nearness. 3. Angels assigned to the seeker's household. According to Tasawwufi cosmology, every seeker has angels stationed over his home, responsible for testing the patience of the seeker, arranging moments of forgiveness and reconciliation, generating circumstances where the ego must be humbled, creating emotional trials that sharpen the heart. These angels reshape one's life at home to mirror the inner purification of the spiritual path. 4. Angels who weigh the Sufi's response to family trials. At Tasawwufi rank, the maqam is measured, not by how long he prays, but by how he behaves with his family. Therefore, these angels record moments of patience, moments of anger, acts of forgiveness, generosity toward relatives, endurance of disrespect, mercy shown to children, humility shown to spouses. Your treatment of family becomes the mirror of your spiritual state, and these angels are the guardians of that mirror. 5. Angels who trigger the lataif of compassion and rahmah. In Tariqat, the latifa of the heart called qalb is opened most powerfully through family trials. These angels activate latifat al-qalb through parental compassion, latifat al-ruh through grief, latifat al-sir through hidden endurance, latifat al-khafi through silent prayer for loved ones, latifat al-akhfa through secret reliance on Allah alone. Thus they are catalysts for the awakening of the inner subtle centers. 6. Angels who teach the balance between halwa, meaning seclusion, and ishra, meaning family life. The seeker must learn to combine worship in solitude, presence with family. These angels regulate the balance by giving the seeker moments of peace for spiritual practice, difficulty through family needs, emotional stretch that prevents selfish seclusion. They ensure the seeker does not escape into fake spirituality by abandoning responsibilities. 7. Angels who protect the family through the seeker's barakah, Tasawwufi teachers say that when a murid walks the path sincerely, these angels expand. Baka in the home, sakana in the hearts, mahabba between spouses, hifz over children. Even though they test, they also guard and bless the household of the seeker. Angels who teach the secret of loving for Allah's sake. The Tasawwufi path does not demand the removal of love, it demands purified love. These angels train the seeker to love, spouse for Allah's sake, children as a trust from Allah, parents as vessels of mercy, siblings as mirrors of character. The test is always, do you love them more than Allah or through Allah? They guide the mirror to the second answer. Commentaries from Tasawwufi masters. 1. Imam al-Ghazali teaches that a person's true spiritual state is revealed not in the mosque but in the home. He says that Allah sends family-based tribulations through specific angels whose task is to polish the rough edges of the heart. These angels create circumstances where the seeker is forced to face his ego, anger, jealousy, fear for children, financial stress caused by relatives, and disappointments in marriage. Imam Ghazali writes that the believer's highest sincerity is tested through emotional labor because family is where the ego feels most entitled. Thus, the angels of family trials break entitlement so that humility may blossom. He explains that when a person endures family hardship with patience, Allah causes these angels to place nur in his chest, equal to the weight of his sorrow. The more the grief, the more the light. He concludes, no seeker reaches true sincerity until he endures what comes from those closest to him. 2. Shaykh al-Akbar ibn Arabi describes the angels of family trials as custodians of emotional destiny. He says every child, spouse, parent, and relative in one's life has been assigned by divine decree to shape the seeker's spiritual blueprint. These angels orchestrate the interactions, moments of joy, grief, estrangement, love, or conflict in a divinely measured proportion that awakens specific divine names within the seeker. For example, through a child, Allah reveals Ar-Rahim; through a spouse, Al-Wadud; through a difficult relative, Al-Halim; through betrayal, Al-Latif. Hazrat Ibn Arabi says these angels shift the winds of the household so that the seeker experiences the full spectrum of Allah's attributes reflected in the mirror of human relationships. He writes that the perfected ones called Al-Kamilun eventually recognize that every family trial is a divine conversation, and the angels are merely scribes who write this conversation upon the soul. 3. Shaykh Abd al-Qadir al-Jilani explains that family is the battlefield where the ego is most reactive. He says Allah sends the angels of family trials to subdue the nafs through honorable struggle, not through escape. One who runs from family responsibilities, he says, runs from the arena Allah created for his purification. Thus, these angels bring tests like strained relationships, rebellion of children, conflict within the home, and misunderstandings, not to break the believer but to break the ego. Jilani says, the nafs cannot hide from these trials, for they pursue it even in the sanctuary of the home. When the murid responds with patience, generosity, and forgiveness, these angels open doors of divine openings, meaning fath, that are not open through outward worship. He emphasizes that serving family with sincerity is a form of divine service, and the angels witness it as an offering placed directly before Allah. 4. Shams Tabriz, the spiritual guide, the Murshid of Maulana Rumi. Hazrat Shams teaches that love is the greatest test, and therefore the angels who govern family trials are among the most mystical servants of Allah. For Hazrat Shams, these angels stir emotional storms inside the believer, jealousy, longing, separation, worry, and attachment, to reveal the secret cracks in the heart. He says that the murid who claims to love Allah but cannot show patience with his spouse or kindness toward his children has only tasted the shadow of love, not its reality. These angels, according to Shams, are like hidden teachers who provoke the emotions until the seeker learns to love purely, without expectation or ego. He says, the one who learns mercy through family will find Allah in every face. These angels teach that every argument, disappointment, or heartbreak is a divine polishing of the heart's mirror, preparing it to reflect the real. 5. Maulana Jalal al-Din Rumi. The disciple of Hazrat Shams Tabriz, Maulana Rumi describes the angels of family trials as weavers of destiny, spinning threads of joy and pain to bind the seeker to the truth. He says that every loved one is a teacher, placed by Allah as a lesson in the curriculum of the soul. These angels weave scenarios: birth, love, loss, reconciliation, heartbreak, so that the seeker learns compassion and surrender. Rumi says, through the child, Allah teaches you hope; through the spouse, Allah teaches you loyalty; through the parent, Allah teaches you gratitude; through the relative who hurts you, Allah teaches you forgiveness. The angels guide the seeker through these lessons until the heart realizes that every emotion is a messenger, and every family trial is a door opening toward Allah. Maulana Rumi's teaching is that one cannot become a friend of Allah until one becomes a gentle presence in one's own home. Possibility of seeing them in real life, in the spiritual sciences of Islam, the possibility of encountering Malaikat wal-Awlād, whether in waking life, in dreams, or through kashf, has long been recognized as part of the subtle interactions between the unseen world and the human soul. Because these angels govern the arena of family bonds, emotional attachments, tests of loyalty, patience, compassion, and relational endurance, they often manifest their influence not through visible forms, but through states, events, and circumstances that shake the believer's heart. In waking life, scholars and Sufi masters teach that it is rare for these angels to appear in human form. Rather, their presence is known through sudden shifts in family relationships, unexpected challenges with parents, spouses, children, or siblings, moments that push the believer towards sincerity, humility, and justice. Although it is theoretically possible for Allah to allow a righteous person to see them, their test-oriented nature means they rarely take a visible shape, for their trial requires subtlety and inner confrontation rather than outward spectacle. Seeing them in dreams. In dreams, however, their appearance becomes more accessible because the dream world, Alam al-Mithal, is a realm where meanings take shape. A believer may see a luminous figure guiding them regarding family matters, or a stern but gentle presence cautioning them about injustice, neglect, or emotional hardness. Sufi teachers explain that these dream encounters do not always involve explicit identification, "I am an angel," but are often symbolic, with the angel appearing as a noble elder, a calm teacher, a child, or even as pure light that delivers counsel related specifically to family dynamics. Dreams are one of the safest and most common ways Allah allows contact with these beings because dreams preserve free will while offering divine guidance. Seeing them in kashf, through kashf, the unveiling of inner perception, the interaction becomes even more subtle. Sufi tradition holds that the seeker, purified through dhikr, muraqabah, and spiritual discipline, may begin to perceive the effects of these angels before perceiving their forms. This means the seeker experiences sudden expansions or contractions of the heart when dealing with loved ones, perceives spiritual meanings behind family events, or feels an inner presence that guides them away from anger and toward patience. On rare occasions, advanced awliya, the friends of Allah, may perceive these angels as flashes of light, symbolic visions, or intuitive recognitions, but always in accordance with divine permission. and without seeking division for its own sake. For Kashef is not about seeing forms, but about seeing with clarity, understanding the divine orchestration behind emotional trials, relational turbulence, and the bonds of love that Allah uses to refine the soul. In all cases, waking life, dreams, or kashf, the central theme is that these angels are encountered through meaning, not spectacle, through guidance, not display, through purification, not perception. Their purpose is not to impress, but to transform, to awaken the believer to how every difficulty and tenderness within family life is a divine test escorted by an unseen guardian. And thus, while their direct form may remain hidden, their influence is among the most felt, the most intimate, and the most deeply woven into the fabric of human experience. Their role in the grave. When the soul enters the grave, the immediate questioning is performed by Munkar and Nakir, yet Tasawwufi commentaries mention that the angels responsible for one's life domain also accompany the soul in a subtle way. Malaikat al-Awlad do not ask formal questions, but their influence shapes what weight of deeds accompanies the deceased into the first night of the grave. If one upheld justice in the home, maintained compassion with parents, protected the rights of spouse and children, and avoided oppression, these angels bring light, warmth, and expansion of the grave. Their presence becomes a testimony of the believer's righteousness in family matters. However, if a person harmed their family, broke trusts, oppressed loved ones, or shattered hearts, these angels bear witness of darkness, and the grave narrows due to the wounds inflicted upon those closest to the person. Their role is not punitive but reflective. The grave mirrors what one built in the home. Their testimony amplifies the truth of whether the home was a garden of mercy or a chamber of cruelty. In this way, they stand as subtle attendants, shaping the spiritual climate of the grave through the legacy of one's relational actions. Their role in Barzakh, the intermediate world. In Barzakh, the world between death and resurrection, every soul dwells in the echo of its earthly life. Here, Malā'ikat al-Awlād continue to reflect the consequences of one's treatment of family. They are the carriers of the emotional imprint. Every kindness toward parents, every sacrifice made for children, every moment of patience with the spouse becomes a ray of light that eases the soul's stay in Barzakh. Their role is to maintain the ledger of emotional deeds. If a believer held grudges, fueled family discord, or abandoned responsibilities, these angels maintain the spiritual residue of those actions, creating disturbances, restlessness, or a longing that cannot be fulfilled until Allah wills purification. They are guardians of the unfinished echoes of relationships. Their presence ensures that the truth of one's familial life continues to unfold, for Barzakh is where deeds ripen and reveal their true flavor, mercy or regret, harmony or sorrow. Their role on the day of resurrection. On the day of rising, humanity will stand before Allah and every realm of life will be judged, including family. Malaikat al-Awlād appear as those who present the files of interpersonal and emotional justice. They bring forward all moments where the believer protected the dignity of family, upheld fairness, extinguished anger, healed wounds, or fulfilled duties with sincerity. Because family is often the greatest field of patience, these angels bring forward deeds that were hidden from the world. Tears shed in silence, sacrifices no one noticed, forgiveness given without recognition. If family rights were violated, they present the testimonies of those wrongs, unfulfilled obligations, broken trusts, harsh words, fractured relationships. They do so not as accusers, but as recorders of truth. Their presentation is part of the unfolding of Allah's perfect justice on a day when nothing remains hidden. Through their witnessing, the believer either ascends in honor or stands accountable before the one who entrusted them with family. Their role with the Mizan, the divine scale. At the Mizan, deeds are weighed, not only prayers and fasting, but the unseen emotional and relational acts that defined one's moral character. Malaikat al-Aḥwāl wal-Awlād bring the soft deeds of family life, the warm smile given to a parent, the withheld anger toward a spouse, the gentle correction of a child, the protection of siblings. These small deeds often outweigh mountains because the Prophet taught that the heaviest deed is good character and family is its testing ground. These angels help ensure that such family-related deeds are placed correctly on the scale, the ones the believer may have forgotten. Their stored records become weighty lights on the right side of the scale. Conversely, any injustice or harm toward family adds weight to the left side, not because the angels punish, but because they reveal the truth of one's emotional footprint. In this way, they participate in the unfolding of Allah's mercy by presenting every drop of goodness done within the sacred circle of family. Their role at the Sirat, the bridge over hellfire. The Sirat is crossed by light, representing sincerity, compassion, truthfulness, and fulfilled responsibilities. Malā'ikat al-Aḥwāl wal-Awlād influence the believer's journey across the bridge to the light of mercy one cultivated in the home. Every act of patience toward children, respect toward parents, kindness toward spouse, and reconciliation among relatives becomes a beam of illumination that stabilizes the believer's footsteps. Those who oppress their family find the Sirat darkened by the shadows of their actions. These angels do not hinder the believer, rather, they reflect the consequences of the moral world one built. If the home was a sanctuary of mercy, the Sirat becomes wide and radiant. If the home was a place of cruelty, the Sirat becomes narrow and sharp. Their role is symbolic but spiritually real. They bring forth the light or heaviness generated by family life, which becomes the believer's companion in this decisive crossing. Protection and awareness. These angels, known as Malaikat al-Aḥwāl wal-Awlād, are tasked with overseeing the trials and tests that come through family, loved ones, and close relationships. They monitor, record, and subtly guide the dynamics between parents, children, spouses, and relatives. The believer's interactions within the family are therefore not only worldly engagements, but spiritual arenas where intentions, patience, justice, mercy, and love are scrutinized. Awareness of their presence transforms the way a person perceives familial trials, not as mere inconveniences or burdens, but as opportunities for purification, spiritual elevation, and alignment with the divine will. Neglect, anger, or cruelty can attract displeasure and loss, while consistent care, fairness, and patience draw the attention and support of these angels, thereby turning familial challenges into spiritual victories. Through a Kamil Murshid, an enlightened spiritual guide, plays an essential role in illuminating the unseen reality of these angels and teaching the disciple how to cultivate alignment with them. Through mentorship, the Murshid explains that every interaction with family members carries a cosmic significance. Acts of kindness are multiplied in their spiritual reward, while acts of injustice can accumulate negative consequences that affect both this world and the hereafter. The Murshid often prescribes specific meditative and devotional exercises, such as dhikr, silent reflection, and intentional prayers for family, emphasizing that spiritual vigilance is required to navigate these tests wisely. Under the guidance of a Kamil Murshid, the disciple learns to maintain composure during emotional upheavals, respond with wisdom rather than reaction, and cultivate love, mercy, and forgiveness in every relational moment. The Murshid's role ensures that the believer is constantly aware of the angelic presence, turning ordinary domestic life into a path of spiritual refinement, with the angels acting as both witnesses and subtle allies in these trials. A murshid awakens the seeker to the reality that every breath is a form shaped by zikr. By teaching breath zikr, the murshid transforms the human into a being of continuous remembrance, surpassing angels. A Kamil Murshid, meaning a perfect spiritual guide, is considered in Tasawwuf the inheritor of the Prophet, guiding seekers on the path from clay, meaning nafs, to light, meaning ruh. The Kamil Murshid helps awaken this nafas al-Rahman, meaning breath of the All-Merciful, within the disciple. Also as stated in Surah Kahf verse 17, whoever Allah guides is truly guided, but whoever He leaves to stray, you will never find for them a murshid, meaning a spiritual guide. Angels are always in dhikr, but their dhikr is fixed and limited to the forms Allah gave them. Man, however, through guidance of a murshid, can transform his every breath into dhikr, making his remembrance continuous, like angels, and even higher because it comes through free will. In tariqat, the murshid teaches habs al-nafas, meaning watching the breath, and zikr khafi, meaning silent dhikr. Every inhalation and every exhalation affirms Allah and He alone. This makes the seeker live in the constant rhythm of divine presence. Through the Quran provides explicit guidance that strengthens the believer's awareness and protection in relation to these angels. Verses emphasize respecting parents, maintaining fairness among siblings, showing kindness to spouses, and nurturing children, all of which attract the favor of Malaikat wal-Awlād. Respect and care for parents, as stated in Surah 46 verse 15. And we have enjoined upon man care for his parents. His mother carried him with hardship and gave birth to him with hardship. By acting upon this verse, the believer aligns with the angel's observation of filial obedience and care. Kindness towards spouses, as stated in Surah 4 verse 19, and live with them in kindness. For if you dislike them, perhaps you dislike a thing, and Allah makes therein much good. The angels record and reflect the sincerity of this conduct. Justice among children and family members, as stated in Surah 5 verse 8, do not let hatred of a people prevent you from being just. This teaches that impartiality and equity attract spiritual protection and favor. Regular contemplation and action on these Quranic injunctions create a spiritual harmony where the angels' witnessing is beneficial and family trials are transformed into channels of blessing rather than hardship. Through du'as, supplication is a vital medium to invoke divine support and angelic alignment. The believer can actively seek protection, mercy, and guidance from Allah for family life, which resonates with the role of these angels. For parents, Rabbirhamhuma kama rabbayani sagiran, meaning, my Lord, have mercy upon them as they raised me when I was small. This dua reflects gratitude and ensures the angels note the believer's devotion. For children and future generations, Rabbana hab lana min azwajina wa dhurriyyatina qurrata ayunin waj'alna lil muttaqin imama, meaning, our Lord, grant us righteous spouses and offspring and make us leaders of the righteous. For harmony and protection within family, Allahumma atina hubbaka wa hubba man yuhibbuka wa hubba amalika al-muqarrabin, meaning, Allah, grant us your love, the love of those who love you, and the love of deeds that bring us closer to you. Through consistent supplication, believers strengthen the bond between their actions and the angel's observation, ensuring that domestic life becomes spiritually charged and divinely safeguarded. Acts to do. To align with the presence and role of Malaikat al-Awlād, believers should uphold mercy, justice, and love in all family interactions, ensuring that kindness is habitual rather than occasional. Exercise patience and forgiveness, responding thoughtfully instead of reacting impulsively during domestic disputes. Fulfill duties conscientiously, whether financial, emotional, or educational, recognizing that every act is observed by the angels. Engage in regular dhikr, Quran recitation, and remembrance, reinforcing spiritual awareness that strengthens the angels' protective role. Treat trials of family life as spiritual opportunities, reflecting on their deeper purpose and allowing the angels' guidance to illuminate the path. These actions invite the favor of the angels, allowing familial challenges to be transformed into avenues of spiritual growth. Acts to avoid neglect or mistreatment in family life can invite spiritual harm and loss of angelic protection. Believers should avoid oppression or abuse of any family member, physical, verbal, or emotional, neglecting parental duties or failing to honor parents, harboring malice, envy, or resentment in domestic spaces, favoritism or injustice among siblings, ignoring responsibilities towards spouse or children, or using wealth or authority to harm them. Avoiding these negative actions maintains harmony, ensures the angels' favorable observation, and preserves divine protection. So, dear viewers, Malaikat wal-Awlād emphasize that family life is a profound spiritual battlefield where small actions carry immense weight. Every act of love, mercy, fairness, or patience is magnified in the unseen, while neglect or cruelty leaves lasting spiritual consequences. By aligning actions with divine guidance through the Quran, supplication, personal discipline, and guidance from a Kamil Murshid, believers transform familial trials into instruments of spiritual refinement. The angels serve as both witnesses and subtle protectors, ensuring that righteous conduct within the family is rewarded and that trials are converted into blessings. Their oversight extends from the worldly home into the grave, barzakh, qiyamah, mizan, and across the Sirat, emphasizing the eternal significance of how believers manage their closest relationships. Ultimately, awareness of these angels encourages mindful, patient, and loving engagement with family, turning domestic life into a source of divine proximity, spiritual growth, and enduring blessings. Thank you for watching our video. If you enjoy this content and find it beneficial, we kindly ask you to like this video, share it with others, and subscribe to our channel for more authentic, faith-strengthening content. And let's continue this journey of knowledge together. Inshallah, see you in the next video. Allah Hafiz.